Hello, Paul.
Hi.
You look so serious then before I joined.
I was so worried that it wasn't going to work. I was like, oh God, this is going to be terrible. I complained to my parents that they're not technical, and then if it goes wrong.
Well, I tried to join, and then my phone went. There's not enough connection, and I was like, I ran to the window. I was like, work, try again, try again.
All good. It's working. It's working.
You got a good camera angle going on today.
Thanks. I planned it. I planned it. Flick was laughing. I was like, I've got to get it set up so it's at a better angle than from like underneath me. Terrible.
Cool. How's your lockdown going? Are you bored?
Not bored. I'm still working. Flick and I are still going through self-tapes and stuff for Hamilton and Les Mis. Because we were halfway through Les Mis and we
Yeah,
just started with Hamilton. So we kind of honoured all of those auditions for the time being. But I think it's good for everyone. It's good for Flick and I to see everyone. It's good for actors to do the material, practice self-taping as well, because
yeah,
all those kind of things. And it's good for us as an industry to work out how technology can help us. We're so used to everything being done live, and that might not always be the case. So it's quite good, I think, for the theatrical industry to know that we can work technically,
yeah,
and we can do as much as we can, and at least we've got everything prepared for when we can come back into an audition room.
yeah.
Um, Again, in a way, and I know there will be some projects that will be able to cast from tapes. We might not be able to. We're still figuring all that out as a company.
Yeah.
But it's good to have that bank of talent that we can pull from, and we can start looking at things and thinking about things in the meantime. But
If you
apart from
had the
that, all
if you had the
good.
option, would you always do first rounds via self-tape, or
No,
would you prefer always live?
always live.
See, because I
Always.
think because I have clients, that sometimes the self tapes is awful, but then in the room it's completely different.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think finals should always be in the room in person. Sometimes first rounds, I guess, especially in a situation like this, could be beneficial if people are away or under some circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, we'll always try and do everything live. If someone can't, if there's someone we're particularly interested in and they can't get to us for a while, then we'll ask them to put something on tape.
Yeah,
But the thing that you don't get with a self tape that you do live is personality.
yeah,
And teams like to know that they can work with you and all those kind of things and get a vibe for you as a person as well. Because
mm,
sometimes that, especially with the first round, sometimes that can tell us what kind of role you'll go into as much as what you offer vocally and dramatically.
yeah.
So yeah, so I find it. I've never worked in TV and film, but I don't know. I guess it's kind of half and half. Some people do stuff where they have to go into a studio with the casting director or director, but a lot of it is done via tape, and I just don't know if I could do that. I quite like meeting people.
Yeah, I think it's completely different. Yeah, you want to see, even for TV and film, I think, the person needs to look good on camera and that's what you want to see. But you
Yeah,
still want to see what it's like to work with them, as a
exactly.
director, as a creative, you need to get that personality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think now, quite, I think people have joined. We're given some time. Do you want to introduce yourself maybe a little bit by yourself and who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Paul. It's like Tinder. I've This year was my 10th year in casting, so I've been doing this for 10 years.
Of
I
course, you started
started.
when you were 14, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I actually started at Cameron Mackintosh 2 years before that, having stopped performing. I trained at Arts Ed in the musical theatre. Didn't really do much. I realised quite quickly that I think I preferred the other side of theatre than performing. For me, that suited me a little bit better. And I got a job as the office management assistant for Cameron Mackintosh, which was basically buying tea and toner and making sure that the building ran with the IT manager and everything like that. And then after just over 2 years of doing that, I got taken on by Trevor Jackson as the casting assistant, and I was working under him and James Orange. James Orange was the casting director there at the time. And then after about 2.5 years, I left and I went to Ambassadors, the Ambassador Theatre Group, and I was a casting associate there. So there I did things like Spamalot. I did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I also did some plays. So I worked on the Jamie Lloyd series. So The
Hmm.
Pride, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So that was good. And then about just over a year I was there, and then James Orange was leaving Cameron's, and Trevor asked me if I would come back, but as a casting director. So I did that, and then I took over as head of department as Trevor gradually stepped away from the company. I took over as head of department just over 2 years ago.
Yeah. So you're the real story of, hard work and climb up the ladder, really.
Oh, totally.
So super inspiring, I think. Also, to new graduates or anyone that wants to go down that route, definitely something that they can look at you and be inspired.
Yeah. And I also think, I think as much as I've worked and kind of risen up the ladder in that way, I think it's the best thing to do within our profession as a performer as well. Some people are lucky enough to get a lead role straight away, and that's great, but sometimes it's really hard to then keep that going. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, when you set your expectation levels high, because the first one has been set high, it's so much harder to maintain. But if you kind of keep going and work up, you learn so many more things as well, being a swing, an ensemble, and an assistant dance captain, that would just keep you going for, I think, sometimes a longer career. But I'm a fan of that. And it also shows that we have, as performers, we have transferable skills. I wouldn't be able to do what I do for me, and the way that Cameron likes things to be cast and processes. I wouldn't be able to do that had I not been a performer.
Yeah, because you have the knowledge, you have the background to know also how a performer feels and what Cameron wants, helps that.
Yeah, and most of our creative teams, especially for Les Mis and Hamilton, Les Mis and Phantom and Poppins, our creative teams have all been performers, and been in our shows. They've pretty much all been in our shows, and that's how as dance captains and things, and they've all risen through the ranks. And Felicity, although she hasn't risen through the ranks with Cameron's, she very much, after she finished performing and she was a performer, she started it as an intern for Pippa Alien, and then
and she's worked her way up as well.
So I'm a big fan of kind of just starting small and just honing your craft, and just through sheer hard work. Cool.
So I have a few questions for you. So we have questions that people have written in. If we have time at the end, we can still get some people to write some in. But we'll go with these. So first question is, what's the best way to get on your radar when the theatre world is up and running again?
To be honest, I think the best thing to do, I know people are kind of being proactive now, and which I think is good, because as casting, a lot of freelance casting directors as well, their projects may have stopped, and they may have time to kind of respond more to emails and things like that. So I think if you wanted to be proactive and get on the radar, it's probably better to do it over the coming months, so that when we hit the ground running and shows start to audition again as soon as we're allowed to be in public in bigger groups. That's already
like set in motion, and
but then I think it will just, I don't know. I wonder whether it will just get back to normal, and breakdowns will start going out, and agents will be able to just submit their clients as normal. And I know that it'll be very different for graduates this year, but I know that many casting directors are keen on doing as much as possible with graduates, the ones they haven't seen. Flick and I were very fortunate and went through a lot of the Southeast schools that we could get to from just before Christmas. So we've seen a lot of the graduating years. But I think they're going to have the toughest time. So I think they're probably the ones that are going to have to be a little bit more maybe proactive with the help of their course leaders and things like that. But so I think the best way to get on someone's radar really is just going back to normal and start going back to auditions and things like that. The industry would have been maybe closed for 6 months or something in total after all of this, but we still remember you all.
Exactly,
I think
as well, like someone that's already in the business, if you're in a show, you might not be auditioning for a year or two if you're extended. So you don't forget about those people. If you've seen them once before, they're in your mind, because that's what you guys are good at.
So I think I think we just have to kind of just go back into our industry as our industry has worked.
Cool. So next question. Once I'm on his radar, what's the best way to make myself as useful as possible for him in terms of material? Songs I present him on a first round or second. I cannot read that.
Don't
Did I
worry,
just
I can. I've got it written up. It's fine.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So
what's the
what's
best way to make themselves useful?
try and make everything align. And I said this to someone yesterday in an email. The the best thing to do is create a coherent package. As you know, you are your product. You're self-employed. You are you're. It's an awful
Yeah.
phrase to use.
A business. No, we've been using this a lot. We've been doing panel days and Q&A with a lot of colleges. One something that we always stress is you are your own business, and that's what a lot of
Yeah.
performers kind of forget. But
Yeah.
it should be seen that way.
Yeah. And so you've got to know what and speak to your agent, or if you're at school, still at school, your course leader or anything like that, or head of departments, and start to think about what you are right for as a type and as an age, not necessarily what you want to play, because we'll always have those dream roles, but that might not be for you.
Yeah.
And the quicker you kind of embrace that, and the smarter you are about embracing that, and really going for what you could fit into, the easier it will be, first of all, mentally, because you can let things go. But you'll just know exactly where you fit, and then you can properly start to pick your repertoire, so that it all fits, so that the repertoire you're bringing
Yeah.
in suits you as a type, therefore suits that character, and it all starts to go, and you go, right, okay, great. Especially for those long running shows that have that might not have the luxury of being able to think outside the box as a new production could, as much as we try and shake things up a bit.
Yeah.
So just try to kind of make everything align. If you say you're a highly skilled soprano, we've probably brought you in because you say you're a highly skilled soprano. So don't bring two belty songs.
Yeah.
Bring a highly skilled soprano song. And the same for a tenor. If you're a tenor, show us that you can start going to those A's, B's, C's in stuff. Really show us what you can do, because we would have read your CV and brought you in because of those things. So show those things off.
Yeah.
And that goes the other way around. If you can't do those things, take those things off.
Don't put them off. Yeah. One conversation I'm having with graduates right now, in the first meeting, I'm like, what's on your spotlight? Is that all accurate? All the accents that you have in your spotlight, can you actually do them all? Yeah. No, I can try it, I've got a good ear. No, you have to be able to nail them.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. Just present yourself as a full package. Don't try and second guess, or trying to be. You're not going to be right for everything. And again, the quicker you accept that, the easier it is. So just go, this is what I can offer. This is me as a being. This is what I can do. And start from there. And I think once you've settled your roots, then you can start branching out, maybe, or looking at different things. But I think that's the best starting point.
I think one conversation,
especially as a kind of as a first round, and then as you get into recalls, just be professional, learn it. Listen. Don't be what we call a busy listener, which is people that go, yeah,
they do that, but then nothing's going in.
No, because it says, they think it says to us, yes, I'm listening, yes, I'm
taking but it's not going in. One conversation that we have a lot with clients is also, when it comes to rep, something that you enjoy singing is not necessarily a good audition song.
No.
Like what you like singing, sing in a shower, sing a karaoke, sing in your singing lesson when you want to work on something, on a new effect, but like have your audition song that is going to work for you.
Yeah, and get you the jobs that you're going to be right for. That's cool. Brilliant advice.
Yeah. So next one. I love that you're holding more open audition for shows. But how do you stand out from thousands of other girls when you have only 12, 16 bars of a song?
Just be excellent. Just be talented, and just do that. You don't have to, dye your hair pink or anything like that. We will remember you. There will be thousands and thousands of people, especially with the X Factor kind of generation we have now. There'll be people that turn up to open auditions that are just giving it a go.
Never trained or anything.
Yeah. So, and that will be
just to have a laugh, have a fun day out at the
a bit
theatre.
like Monica and Friends.
Yeah.
Whereas that will be 95% of the people really that go.
Yeah.
So you'll be one of those few 5% that do this for a living. So just smash it.
Yeah.
Pick
I guess
something
making
that-
sure also having like a good cut of a
Oh,
song, you know, like
exactly what
if
I
you're
was going to
gonna,
say. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Just make sure what you do in those 12 to 16 bars shows off something impressive.
Yeah.
And we go, okay. And in some open auditions, they won't be looking for everything. So you might be great, but you might not fit what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to accept that, as we have to anyway. But that doesn't mean that we've got a boy in the Lame is tour who's our second cover, Marius. We found him from the Phantom Opens.
Yeah, I know you did that, you know, because you did the open then, but then invited people from a different show that they could be right for.
Yeah. And Flick was like, this boy's not right for Phantom. He's just too young, all those kind of things. But we needed a second cover, Marius, and that's what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what do you think is good use of quarantine time for an actor?
Keep yourself like show fit as much as possible. So keep yourself limber, keep singing. I went for a socially distant walk, shall we say, with Josh Pitterman, who plays the Phantom, because we live close by, and he still sings every day, so that he knows that when he goes back into work, he can still deliver vocally, and he's not going to conk out.
Yeah.
So keep yourself kind of like show fit. I'd also use this time to explore maybe new rep songs. If you feel like all of your songs are pretty much the same, or the same tempo, or all the same feel, then you don't need all of those. But it might be good to chat with your agent to say, oh, actually, maybe I should start listening to some new soundtracks, or some old soundtracks that you've not really thought about, to kind of update your repertoire. And I'm sure there'll be pianists out there that, will be able to put some tracks down for you as well to practice.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is really, really important, and Flick and I when we talk to colleges and we do Q&As like this, is try and find something, we're really lucky that we can do our hobby as a career, but it does mean we then don't have a hobby, because we have our whole world is our profession. So if you can find something that's not theatre or not acting or anything like that, it will balance you out. So for me, it's tapestry and craft, and I like building things, making things. You can just see it over my shoulder is a little thing in a frame on my wall. You can't quite see it, but I made that.
You make that, cool.
For Felicity, she has a dog, and every Tuesday night up until now, she does dog agility classes, where like she runs around an obstacle course with her dog, and she trains the dog, and and it's really important to have that time. And I think if you can find something that's not theatre, it will take you out, because we can all get bogged down with the minutiae of the stresses of our industry. There's so many variables and things that to take yourself out. And also, it might be a good time to rekindle a friendship with someone that isn't in the industry, that you might have lost touch with, or something like that. If you've got a friend who's a nurse or a school teacher or a scientist or an engineer or a mechanic or something, it will just, again, balance you out, so that you're not constantly just talking to people about your profession. Because we generally, when we graduate, we live with other actors. So we're going to talk about that audition, this audition, that job, blah, 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 blah. So my advice is to find things in this quarantine time to not only hone your skills, which you should always be doing anyway, but find something that's going to tip the scales back.
Something that makes you a bit normal again.
Yeah. In a way, it's lovely. It's lovely to it's lovely to be abnormal, and I think that's probably how I've coped with quarantine myself, and being creative. But to find something that can tip the scales back into a more balanced life, I think this is as good a time as any to find something. Learn a language.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I mean, when I was single and I used to date, people were like, "So what are your hobbies?" I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's my job. Like, that's my hobby. Yeah, but what do you do in your spare time? I was like, I go to physio to look after my body. I take singing lessons. Like, what do you mean? I
Yeah,
go to the
yeah,
gym. Like, that's my life. Yeah, so
yeah.
that's some really good advice, I think, there.
I started rock climbing recently as well.
Okay.
Again, something completely different.
Yeah,
I go with my old flatmate from a couple of years ago, and we have a great time. It's like you can only do an hour because there's only so much like you can grip.
yeah. I've
We
tried a
have a
couple of times. It's a
coffee.
really good sport.
Yeah, it's good all-round fitness, and it's just something that completely challenges your body and your brain in a different way.
Yeah, cool. All right, next question. On average, how many submissions do you get when casting a show, and how do you prioritize?
Okay, so for something like Les Mis this year, we had about 5,500 submissions. That
Yeah,
was via Spotlight and via people writing in. We prioritize basically if we know already who's going to be leaving, or we have a hunch of people that have been in the show a couple
yeah,
of years, and we know that the type of people that would want to move on. Um, we always do the graduates beforehand because it's around the same time for Les Mis, for
yeah,
example. So that's how we prioritize first. Um, Things that are rare, we will always use an audition process to look for. So, for example, young sopranos that are becoming rarer and rarer as we're getting more contemporary shows that need a belt,
yeah.
belt and all those kind of things. We'll always look if there's like a new young soprano, we'll get them in.
Okay,
Um, Things like that. We try and guess what we might need. So that's how we prioritize. But we can quite easily, and I know we'll go into this later. But we can quite easily go through Spotlight and go without looking at someone's CV because we know them and we've probably seen them in something recently. Go,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, love them, but they're not for this. Love them. There isn't anything for them this time around, I don't think.
yeah.
We can do that quite easily. But we do open those submissions. It takes us about a fortnight between
Okay.
it, yeah, to do it.
So
And
you
we can
open each
split it.
single CV and you look at each single CV,
Yep,
right?
yeah, because you just don't know.
Yeah,
You just don't know. We don't know everyone, and we can,
of course.
as much as we can try. But there are so many drama schools now open that aren't London centric, and we can't get to see all of those people.
Yeah,
So we do open them, and a lot of them we've seen in the past. We're like, you know what, they're just not this show, or their voice still isn't, their voice still won't be good enough, or anything like that. So we've got enough knowledge in our heads as well, in our filing cabinets, to kind of do that. But then if there's someone we don't know, we'll click on the click on the link.
Yeah, cool. Do you like artists emailing you directly with their submission?
No. And I know I've said be proactive, but this is a very different time. But generally, and I say that if you have an agent. If you don't have an agent...
I guess we have two scenarios, like the artists without an agent and the ones with.
Yeah. If you don't have an agent and you are your own agent, then sure. Email in info@camac.co.uk, and that comes to us. That's the best thing to do. But if you have an agent and your agent gets our breakdowns, it's very, very rarely that we'll do something so specific on an agent list. Yeah. Then that's what you're paying them for. That's what you pay your commission for them to create those relationships, like you taking me to the theatre and things like that. It's to see the client, of course, but it's also for us to be able to then, for you to call me and know me personally and say, I've got this client, their CV might not quite represent them, but I know that they can do it. What do you think? So let them do it. All it does by you submitting yourself is give us twice the work. And if you think of it on the flip side, I could be looking through your CV on all the Spotlight submissions, but if someone has submitted themselves and their agent has, I'm then taking time away from looking at your CV. Yeah. So if you've got an agent, let your agent do the work. Cool. If you haven't got an agent, fire away.
Good. How important is it to have a show reel on your Spotlight?
I don't do TV and film or anything like that, but for those people, of course.
Well, I guess like a vocal reel as well, for singers, like a vocal reel.
If there's a vocal reel, Felicity and I will always listen to it. It's the first thing it's the first kind of step to knowing whether they could be right or not. And it doesn't have to be bang on, but if you go, oh, okay, yeah, I don't know them, that's an okay singing reel, and if they fit this and this, yeah, get them in. Sometimes I know that their voice won't be strong enough, so that's another, but, you know, I would have listened to it. If you are a musical theatre person, and this is our pet peeve, if you're a musical theatre person and you have a voice reel, make sure it has singing on it, because it's such a disappointment when you click on and it's just a voice reel for an advert or for a narrative or a documentary. I'm like, that's really useful for that. But if you are a musical theatre person and you've gone through the musical theatre training, have a voice reel that also says, this is what I can do, and you come with like your own armour. I will always listen to them.
Yeah.
And make them concise. Again, like we were saying with open auditions, make them punchy, show off what you can do.
How much of a show reel or voice reel do you listen to? Do you like listen to the first, let's say, like 20 seconds, or do you try and jump? Because I know everyone, like we all have, you manage it in different ways.
I'm a jumper. So I would say 90 seconds, no more, and you can get maybe like 4 songs, and I'll just be like, and make sure that they're varied. So don't sing 4 of basically the same song. Make sure that they show a variety of either your range or a range of styles or things like that. And then I flick hops as well. Yeah,
what I've started doing, like with all these graduates writing in now, with the material, if they're dancers and there's a voice reel as well, I watch the dance reel while listening to the voice reel, like at the same. So I'll mute the dance reel and I do at the same time. Yeah.
Good idea.
To try and save time. Does having cruise credit on your CV affect getting invited for an MT audition?
It depends, and this comment comes with a lot of knowledge on it in terms of a 10-year career. There are so many cruises now, and so many big West End shows have their cruise productions. And if you've got one of those on your CV, I treat that as a first-class production, like I would a tour or anything like that, because I know that those are as high a quality. They're not a second-rate show at all. They just so happen to be on a boat. Yeah. If your CV says lead vocalist, lead vocalist, lead vocalist in a more cabaret style on a cruise, that's when I start to question. And it's not necessarily the person, but what happens is when you start to do those kind of things regularly, bad habits creep in. It becomes less about the story you're telling and more about the sound you're making, because that's what's impressive to that audience generally. Things start to creep in, like closing eyes to get a higher note. You know, it all comes within. And the storytelling.
Some body language as well. Certain companies teach you, if it's a high note, put your arm up and this kind of stuff.
Exactly. And all those things, I've seen it time and time again. All those things, even from people that have been in an American show for a year, can't not sing in an American accent. And it's the same. If you start to instill bad habits, it takes a long time to get out of them. Yeah. And when you're on a cruise, you're not necessarily honing those musical theatre skills as much as you probably would be if you were on land. Yeah. So that's the dichotomy there. If it's a good show, then I would certainly think of it as a first-class production.
Do you think good advice would be for people who have been out and done like lead vocalists in a row, once they come back and they want to try out musical theatre, to maybe have a vocal reel which is up to date and recent, or something, a show reel that's not them singing on a boat, but them coming back, putting technique back in place and having a vocal reel then?
Yeah. If you're coming back from a cruise and you're creating a show reel, don't use the footage from the shows. Yeah. It's not what we would be looking for. So go back. And it won't take long, but go back. Maybe go to like the Actors Centre or something, just to kind of get yourself back into that storytelling world. Yeah. And then just lay down a few musical theatre tracks where you are telling a story and inhabiting the world. So it's not just a vocal performance. That's the first thing to do. That's the smart thing to do, yeah.
Cool. Do you keep CVs and notes on file to look back when the show is casting next time around?
Yes. We call it the Future Box. We use it all the time. The American Hamilton team, thankfully, have the kind of the same idea, and they from from the first ever week of auditions we ever did 3 or 4 years ago, they'd be like, oh, put them in the future file, future file, future file.
Yeah.
I even went to the Philippines to find actors for the Miss Saigon tour.
That is such a hard show to cast, right?
Yeah, and Bobby, the local director there that works a lot over there, he helped me, and he was like, put them on the future file. They're a future file, so even he does it.
Yeah.
Because we can't remember everyone all the time, and we have a big database. So if there's someone that is brilliant, but there just isn't a track for them that year, we'll be like, put them in the future file. If we think, you know what, they're just a little bit green right now, but have a year's life experience, and we'll see them again if there's something for them, we'll do that. And every casting process, like for Les Mis this year, we go through all the submissions, the 5,500 submissions, and then we go, right, and we get the files out. I'm holding 2 because we always have men and women. It's easier. And we go through those, and we're like, okay, there's nothing for them yet. There's nothing for them yet. There's nothing for them yet.
Yeah.
Or they may have already got. So many times we flick through and try and weed it out a little bit if there's some old notes and things still in there, and they've been in the show by then. You're like, oh, they got it this year, brilliant.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Or like they came in 2 years ago and there was nothing for them. Like, oh, they came in this year and they got the job. Or oh, they're in Phantom instead. Or so we always use that future file. Yeah.
I think what artists a lot of times forget that is your job. That's what you guys do, and you're obviously so organized. And because I've had in the past as well, where someone would be invited, or are they available? And I'm like, wait, am I going? I haven't submitted them because they're in a job, and I'm like, shit, what have I done? And they're like, oh, no. Which, at the beginning I was like, oh my god, what have I done? But then you learn that it's because casting directors actually know the people that are right and they want to see again, or people that have met before. So sometimes not only you have your 5,000 and 500 application submissions, but you then have the people that you still want to see from the before.
Exactly, and we also do our own searches, especially if they come incredibly different for us as a company. But we will go onto Spotlight, and we will do our own searches. We will go onto all of the drama, like the acting schools as well, and look at their CVs. And if they, especially if they are artists of color, and they may have some singing skills, we'll get them in and see what they're like. So we do our own searches, and again, sometimes Mel or Lily, the assistants in the office, will call an agent, and we have to write on our sheet that we give them beforehand, we found them through a search, just so that Lily or Mel can say they've not been submitted. Paul and Flick thought about them last year, or they were doing their own search. Are they available? So that guys like you're like. So we as proactive as possible. That is our job. Our job isn't just to sit in an audition and go yes or no. There's a lot of prep that goes into that. So we have to kind of forward think quite a lot. Yeah.
Right, next question. When someone is auditioning for you, do you ever look into the social media? Can that influence your decision in bringing them back for a recall? So basically, I guess, how important is social media?
I think it depends. I think it depends on producers as well. And there's no beating around the bush in terms of obviously sometimes to put a show on, you might need a name in order to entice an audience. And part of me, or most of me, thinks that it's not a bad thing. And it's been going on for a lot longer than really possible, than we all think. But sometimes that one name in a show gives another 100 people a job.
Yeah.
So we have to think of it in the wider sense as well. But I would say for us, social media, we don't really look in terms of how many followers you have or anything like that. That doesn't really bother us. But if we, for example, no, I'm not on social media, but the girls in the office are, and you hear things, and if there are people that time and time again, their name comes up because they're talking a lot, or they're always commenting on things, or getting into those Twitter debates and things like that, which some are good, some aren't, all this kind of thing. Then sometimes you think, oh gosh, how would they be like as a company member? Maybe it's very rare that we look at anyone's social media. That's us as a company. But I'm sure there are new producers who may, because again, they might want to see if they've got a big fan base out there, and how can they, and not necessarily just just how, you know, how many followers they got to then buy a ticket, but what is their fan base like? How can they market that person? How can they market the show? What kind of avenues to take down? So in that sense, I think social media is probably playing a big role for a lot of performers and a lot of producers. For us, it's not really, it's never in the forefront of our minds at all.
I think social media is important, you know, remembering again, as you said before, you are your own business when you're an artist. And so make sure that whatever you put on social media, it's going to be out there and will be seen by, you know, audience member, producers. So if you have it public, be aware of what you're posting. And, you know, if you're an artist, I would always say maybe have one that's going to be private, that's going to be for your family, for your friends. And then one that you can have public as a performer with pictures of you on stage in costume, if you're allowed, of course.
As your business account.
As your business, exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we can't hide from the fact that social media is growing and growing and is being much a part of our industry as every other industry. So we just have to be smart about it.
Yeah. When delivering a song to the panel, do you have preferences and focus?
Yeah, this is like one of the questions that always crops up.
Yeah. I think it's so personal, you know, like what each panel likes and what you like, you know, what you like might be something, a different casting item might like something different.
Totally. So it depends. If you think that, I would say generally, look over the panel shoulder, so like here, but don't do what we call middle distance acting, where you haven't got a focus. So if there's like a nick in the wall, or there's like a bolt on the window, I'm thinking the umbrella rooms, that's where we generally live. Sing to that. Make sure that your eyes have a focus, because if they don't, they glaze over, and then you're not connecting, and you're kind of doing this weird hazy look. Having said that, don't just sing at that, because then that looks unnatural. But if you're going to not look at someone to sing at something, whether it's a light switch or a fan in the corner or something, but pick specific points like you would in a theater.
Yeah. When I used to audition, I used to actually think that I was in a theater and telling the story. I was like, oh, there's an audience member there, I'm going to sing to them, and then I go to this side and just, I guess, make it organic, make it, you know, tell the story to the wall and not just to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We need to feel included as an audience.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you feel like you're singing a song, especially if you've got a recall and it's maybe a love duet or something like that, if you think it's going to help you deliver it better, ask if you can sing to someone.
Yeah.
If there's a runner or something, you know, I get used a lot. We have, for example, a good example is Phantom of the Opera. When the Raoul recalls come along and we get them to sing All I Ask of You, the natural way to go is this lovely romantic song, and it just becomes a bit of a romantic ballad. But there's more of an energy behind it than that. So Lynn, our resident choreographer, will normally get up on stage or wherever we are, and we get the guys to sing to her so that they have a purpose, and it changes people completely.
Yeah.
So if you feel like when you get to that point that you might need someone just to, you know, you can always ask, what can they say? No.
Exactly.
But you've given yourself the opportunity then, at least.
And if you're in the rehearsal studio auditioning, eye contact or no eye contact?
When singing?
Yes. With the panel?
I would generally say none. Okay. It's weird, and only because as human beings, we want to keep that eye contact. But if you then want to write and no, you're like, oh, singing, oh. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, and it can put the artist off as well, because they might think that, I think most people think that we only write bad notes, but we might actually be going, oh my goodness, I love this
really
girl.
Good, yeah.
Get her, like, booker type thing.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of trying to write that and look, it can be a bit weird. So I would always say go past, almost don't acknowledge us for a while, but inhabit the world beyond us.
Yeah, I would say personally, you know, if you are going to do eye contact, you know, very briefly, you know, I've had people, and, you know, when I'm on a panel and they're just like staring, and I was like, this is really uncomfortable right now.
And unnatural, isn't it? It's unnatural,
Because you wouldn't be on stage and just stare at someone for like 30 seconds.
No.
So next question. Do you have any do's and don'ts that you can share with us when auditioning for you?
Mine and Flick's biggest note is, we always say, be normal. And what we mean by that is just be yourself, be natural. We don't need anything extra. Let your talent and your kind of professionalism and your expertise shine. And to that end, you know, go in knowing your stuff. If you need to hold it for like security, I know that, you know, us, Wicked, Mamma Mia, we all cast around the same time.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot to learn, you've got to learn it. It's your job. But if you need to hold it, but say, oh, like, do you mind? Don't make a big deal of it and just say, oh, I'm just going to hold it just as a little bit of a thing. I probably won't need it. Just be calm.
It's a safety blanket, I guess, you know, just to have that psychological in case you do forget.
Yeah. Sometimes it just, you don't need it at all, but it just helps. Like, it's just mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just go in, be smiley, be responsive, listen, all those things, do what you do, and go. That's all we need, you know. Yeah. Don't hold back. You know, if the weather's terrible outside and we say, oh gosh, did you get soaked? Chat about it and say, oh, absolutely, yeah, coming from the tube. Don't be, you know, completely cut off. But then we don't need a whole story about why you chose those Wellington boots. Do you know what I mean? There's a balance.
Yeah.
Just be natural. Yeah, in that sense. And also, I would, for us, which is a do, pick a whole song.
Okay.
Pick a whole song, unless it's 10 minutes long. Pick a whole song, because we want to know that you can go through a journey. A to B and go through a journey with that character as much as we want to hear you sing.
Yeah.
So choose that. If I would always have a cut ready just in case someone says, oh, well, we've heard that song, but could you just give us like a little snippet of that one?
Yeah.
So have that option ready, but I would always go in a song, a whole song. We give you enough time. We don't overcrowd.
Yeah.
And it depends on the situation, but I would say most casting directors probably do the same. So I would always pick a full song.
Because I think that's the difference, you know, between, like, you're casting for musical theatre, and musical theatre is singing through song. So people, I guess, need to really show that in an audition.
Yes. Yeah. It's a common misconception that we just want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of our shows are sung through. No. We kind of want to, as Claude Michel Schoenberg says, we should forget your singing.
Yeah.
Because we're listening to you tell us a story or telling us about your position in life or your thoughts. So we, you know, as soon as someone adds a trill or does something, we're like, oh no, you're singing again, and we've gotten completely what your character's telling us.
Yeah.
In kind of that way. So there's a few little do's and don'ts there. I've seen someone say, should we shake hands?
Yeah, I saw that. How do you feel about that?
Our teams don't like it.
I agree. Yeah, we get a lot of times people that come to the table and it's like shake hand, you know, to everyone on the table, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad saying no, but I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't know you.
We can say hello. We're friendly enough. We don't need everyone to shake hands.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, generally panels are smallish, especially if it's a big panel. When we were casting Betty Blue Eyes 10 years ago, at the finals there were 15 people on the panel. Can you imagine? That would be your whole audition slot.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you can still show warmth and personality and be friendly without shaking hands.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe thinking, you know, going in, just a nice hello, a nice greeting, then I think that's better than shaking hands, because that might even become awkward if there's so many people on the panel to just go around, hello, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. Next question. What vocal quality do you look for when casting for Hamilton?
It really depends on the role. For the three girls, so the Schuyler sisters, so Angelica, Eliza, and the Peggy Mariah track, the double role, you have to have top quality voices. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to be essentially musical theatre. They can have a pop sound to it, but they have to be solid,
incredible,
with big ranges.
Yeah,
because they all belt to Fs. And stuff like that, and the more open the belt is, the better it is for the poppier style and the contemporary style. So those three girls, you really have to be solid either in a pop style or a musical theatre style, as well as be able to act. For the men, it depends. Again, generally we seek a high level of singing. Something like a Hamilton doesn't necessarily have to be a brilliant singer. I mean, I'm sure Jamel won't mind me saying, but he's not the most fantastic singer. He's a good singer. And And when I remember first seeing him, he trained at RADA, and we actually auditioned him in a studio in RADA. I remember it really well. And he was just the most brilliant actor, and his rapping was brilliant. He came from South London. He grew up in a rap style. So all of that fitted. And his voice, we're like, you know what? We can work with that voice.
Yeah.
He can pitch. He's confident. That's what we need. But the other things outweigh the voice with someone like Hamilton, whereas someone like George Washington, you have to nail one last time. Do you know what I mean? And then the others can be slightly in between sometimes. Cool. And then for the dancers, you have to be excellent dancers across all skills and all styles. But I would say the dancers have to sing more than the singers have to dance. And the dancers have an initial singing round, then they have to come back and learn some harmonies. Then they have to come back after that and prove that they can remember the harmonies. And then they have a final singing round to then do possibly a boot camp where they sing more. So there's a lot. There's a lot.
I think there's a misconception as well that the ensemble of Hamilton doesn't need to sing. Because I've had, some clients reach out, it's like, can you submit me for Hamilton? And I'm like, no, I don't think you're right for the show, And it's like, and it's like, but I don't need to sing. I was like, no, but you do. So I don't know why a lot of people think that the ensemble doesn't need to.
I think it might be because it's very much, we have our dance ensemble and we have our singer actors.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where it comes from. But for example, all of our swings, I don't know about all of our swings in Hamilton have to sing both lines. In some shows, if you swing in one track, you just sing the line that you've been taught. Yeah. Whereas if you are swinging in for man one, you have to sing man one.
Yeah.
And that would be a tenor track, for example. But Lindsay, our woman 4, covers Peggy Mariah. We have to, we have to have those people as well. So, so they do. And three out of the 4 dance boys are featured ensemble. So they have, like Seabury, man 2, has a duet with Hamilton. And then our 5th and the 6th male ensemble are there to hold understudy covers and stuff like that. So, so the ensemble have to sing well.
Yeah. Right. What's the biggest thing you look for in a person when auditioning for Les Mis?
Their acting skills. We kind of assume that you can sing. Obviously, you have to be able to sing incredibly well in our style, but there are a lot of those. But what really sets someone apart is their ability to tell a story naturally. So they don't perform, they just inhabit. Les Mis obviously started with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and it's so Shakespearean in its makeup of there is a scene, then everyone leaves the stage apart from that one person, and that one person tells you their story.
Yeah.
Fontaine does it, Eponine does it, Valjean does it all the way through, Javert, they all do it.
Yeah.
So we need to know that you can just stand and tell us your position without having to overperform, anything like that. Understand the text, and listen to our notes and listen to the team's notes and take those on. That storytelling and the ability to understand notes impresses us as much as being able to work out a top C.
I guess what we said at the beginning, instead of just saying yes in an audition because you want to seem eager, actually, really listen. I would say when you leave the room, write those notes down as if you've just been in a note session with the director.
Yeah.
Once you're in the show, and then work on those so that when you go in for your recall, you can apply those notes.
Exactly.
Super important.
Yeah, that's exactly how to do it.
Yeah. And I guess we have just a few minutes before we get logged out by Instagram. I had one today, actually. Do you prefer people coming in singing in their own accent or in the show's accent? For first round, of course,
Yeah, it depends. So, for example, for Les Mis, if you are British, for example, and you have a British accent, so for example, we have an Eponine on the tour who's Scottish and she sings in a Scottish accent. That's absolutely fine. And I think we need to embrace that more, and it is being embraced more.
Yeah.
If you're Irish, brilliant, Northern, whatever, West Country, that's absolutely fine. If you're British and then sing a song with an American accent, you're then on dodgy grounds.
Yeah.
If you're American and you sing with an American accent, that's fine, because that's your natural accent. but that's the only time where sometimes it it kind of you're kind of on shaky ground in that sense. But I would
Yeah.
absolutely think if you want to sing in your own accent, do it. It makes you a bit more interesting. It gives your song another angle. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can make a song funnier if it's a comedy number. All those things. It gives you a
Yeah.
point of difference.
And I think almost, you know, one less thing to think about while you're singing. So you can spend more of your energy connecting to the song, which is important than thinking
Yeah,
of the accent. And then, you know,
absolutely.
if the panel wants to hear the song in that particular accent, then can ask you for a recall, or they can give you notes
Yeah,
and then you can apply that.
yeah, absolutely. As long as your diction is great, then yeah. Oh, there we go.
My phone. I was like, ah. Yeah. I was just going to scroll down. I know there was a couple of questions that people wrote in.
Sure.
Apology if I missed some. Maybe
Sorry.
it's easier for them to write them in now. Let me see. What advice for older actors? What's the advice for older actors, 30s onwards, coming back into the industry?
Okay, so if, for example, if you've been away and had children or all sorts of things,
I guess, yeah.
um, there's always room for those people, if I'm honest. That's when you can start being proactive and send, if you don't have an agent, and send things in. That's absolutely fine. If you do that, what I would do is before you start doing that, is again get a show reel or a voice reel that's current, so that you're coming in again fully armed with your talent,
Yeah.
because you won't have a CV. Unless you had a very good CV back in the day, and and you've gone to have children, or you've gone to look after a family member or something like that, that will be your weaponry. So that's the best way about doing that.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Yeah.
And would you ever not invite someone with a foreign name since you fear the person not having a British accent? Despite having a perfect UK accent, I've been advised to change it. What's your take on it? Oh,
No,
that's an interesting one. Yeah.
I know, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mhm.
But I think nowadays, everyone is celebrating their heritage so much more, and it's lovely. So, as long as we can understand you and it's clear, we have a French Cosette at the moment, and she has a little bit of a twang, but we understand every word she sings. So I wouldn't be afraid of that. I wouldn't try and anglicize yourself at all. I think you should embrace it, because, to be honest, I think a lot of casting teams and a lot of producers and creative teams are now looking for that diversity. So I would celebrate it. And then if your
Embrace
accent
that.
is if your accent is too strong for some of the, for example, for Hamilton, if your accent gets in the way of the rapping and we can't, then that's something we might go,
Then you
okay,
can
we
work
can't
on and give
we need
notes.
you need to work on that for next year.
Yeah,
Because obviously we need to be clear, the text needs to be
of
clear.
course.
But I would celebrate your diversity in that sense.
Yeah. And one last question. How much of your personality should you show with your outfits in auditions?
I would always come comfortable. I wouldn't. I don't don't use your audition as a catwalk. There are some weird trends. We could be casting GIs in Miss Saigon, but the trend for for guys is very loose, light, almost blouse-like shirts and cropped trousers. Well, that doesn't really scream GI either. So be mindful of what you're
Yeah,
auditioning for, but have your own take on that. That's absolutely fine.
yeah.
As long
We
as
made
you're
an
feeling
example last
comfortable.
week. If you're going in for Greece, don't dress up as if you're one of the T-birds, but kind of maybe style yourself or go something that's gonna
Jeans and a
make
t-shirt.
them think of that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or like West Side Story. We always use the example of, if you think that you and your agent think that you are an Eponine, then there's no reason why you can't wear a pair of jeans and a top, or a jacket or something like that. But if you
Yeah,
are more of a Fontaines generally, if you know a girl that thinks they're a Fontaine, because they will wear maybe a floatier dress or something like that. It just is a little nod, but that
yeah,
can be your take on that.
yeah. And
Don't take
I've
away your
advised
personality.
clients as well, if you're going in for the same show for two different roles and they're very different, it's okay to have a break. Ask the team, can I come back in 5 minutes? Go and change, you know,
Well,
present a different character.
we totally did that with the Phantom, with the Poppins tour and Phantom a couple of years ago. We had a girl who was coming into understudy Carlotta and Giri, who are both incredibly different roles,
Yeah,
and vocally. And her agent called and said, "Look, she can do both, but they're in two totally different parts of her voice. Could she have two auditions on the same day, even if it's like 20 minutes apart? Smart choice.
And one last one just came in. Do you invite people to your auditions even if you don't have West End credits?
All the time. All the time. We have our current Marius in London was only 18. He was still at school. Kelly Matheson, who plays Christine, wrote in.
Yeah.
Amy, who was her alternate, was still at college. I mean, absolutely, like the boy that we've got in the Les Mis tour who came to an audition. Yeah. Absolutely not. You just need to be good and fit.
Cool.
Otherwise, how do you start? Do you know what I mean? How do you ever start that process?
Oh, yeah, of course. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to run out of time. So thank you, honestly, so much for today.
My pleasure.
I kind of forgot that we were like, I thought we were just like on my couch and just
we've got an audience, apparently.
I know.
I can make a cup of tea. It'll be lovely.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for this. I think, you know, there's been a lot throughout us, so a lot of hearts and a lot of thank yous, you know, great advice. So I think, you know, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us.
No worries.
Then have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Later, bye.